Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Shad, and today we are here with another exciting video, a very happy video. The Nuggets are up 3-0 pretty convincingly against the Wolves in the first round series, and honestly, it is going about, I think, a little bit better than I expected, because as a fan, you want to, temper your expectations a little bit. And I'll admit, I wasn't expecting a near sweep. I thought it would probably go to 5 games, but it'd have some games in the middle there that were a little dicey. But if you've been watching the series, the Nuggets have had complete control. All over the series except for a couple of quarters. I want to use this first section of the video to highlight some of the bigger players that have been showcasing a little bit more than what they did in the regular season. And I guess we can start on the other side before we go all pro Nuggets propaganda. We'll start with Ant-Man for the Timberwolves. He is averaging 32, 5, and 4 on 50, 40, 86 splits in the first 3 games of the postseason. This was the one thing I was expecting out of this series. I knew that Ant was someone who would be able to take advantage of a lot of different matchups, whether it be a smaller guard that we have putting on him on the perimeter, or if he's able to turn the corner on a pick and roll or just around the perimeter defender, getting downhill and getting up and over our defenders at the rim. I was expecting that. So to see him put up 32 points a game, to see him go 40 for 40 with Jamal in game 2, this was all very precedented. This was all something that the Nuggets knew was going to happen because he is that talented of a player, and we just do not have the personnel to fully match up against him every single game. We did pretty good in game 1, held him to 6 of 15 shooting, but games 2 and 3, he's found his stride. I want to give him this little shout as well. He has been a really solid playmaker, creating plays for his teammates, using his own scoring gravity, dribble drives, drawing a second defender and kicking it out to an open shooter. He's been finding Cat a lot of the times on these really slick passes, these wraparound passes that you probably wouldn't expect him to be making, but he's shown a willingness and an ability to actually do it. So shout out to him in that regard. Now, you heard me touch on Jamal Murray going 40 for 40 with Anthony Edwards. That's the next person that I do want to talk about, because this has been a pretty decent talking point, a pretty big talking point for the postseason so far, which I'm pretty confused about. But this idea that Jamal being the best player in the postseason over Jokic for the Nuggets is somehow bad or takes away from Jokic in any sort of light. And I really just want to ask why that matters, because the Nuggets, as you saw in game 1, are such a team-oriented machine. They can have all 5 starters score 20 points maximum, all of them staying in the teens, and win by 29 points. They can have a spread out effort in game 2 where game 2 or 3 where KCP is the leading scorer at halftime with 13 points. That's just who the Nuggets are. And it's because our superstar is someone who would rather be a facilitator and help players like Jamal Murray have a series that they can be comfortable with, and a series that they can be proud of, in games where other people besides Jokic can show up and win us that game. Like Jamal Murray in game 2, when he scored 40, it was a very necessary 40. We needed that. We needed MPJ's fourth quarter, but most importantly, we needed Jamal to take the scoring outburst on himself. He needed to find his groove. It was a shaky game 1. This is his first postseason back, but he needed that game. He needed that legacy game to remind himself and to remind everyone else that, hey, you guys reference Bubble Murray a lot. This version of me is much better, and I'm about to show y'all, and I'm about to show myself too. We're seeing the ball being taken out of Jokic's hands a lot more than in recent years, and giving the ball to Jamal Murray to not only score, but to initiate our offense, to be the primary playmaker while Jokic gets to play off ball. That is a huge recipe for success, and it's not a negative at all. So the narratives about that need to cut out. The next player I want to highlight in this section should be no surprise at all. It is Michael Porter Jr. This is someone who we've talked about a lot recently on the channel because he has turned such a huge corner in terms of being an overall basketball player. And I cannot express enough how impressed I am with this development that I've seen from him this season. He's been about as reliable as you can ask of someone on a $30 million max contract. I mean, he has become a guy who can take the ball off the dribble and get to the lane, create contact. We're seeing an increase in his free throw attempts per game when he was averaging, I think, 1.7 in the regular season to now over a nearly 2.5 free throw attempts per game. It's a small marginal increase, but it shows that He is initiating more contact. He is being a lot more aggressive. We talked about the rebounding in a couple videos ago. The other parts of his game are developing, and we're seeing it a lot, especially in Game 3 when he put on a masterclass of a 25-point, 9-rebound, 59-50 split game with 4 made threes and 2 stocks. That's about as good of an MPJ game as you could have asked for in a game that looked like Minnesota was controlling a lot of in that first quarter and in that first half. We needed a performance from MPJ, and that's what I've been talking about in the latter part of the season. That's why I made the I Apologize MPJ video. I recognized this guy as our biggest X factor. I mean, his numbers in the regular season went from 17-5 to the postseason now averaging 20 points, 9 rebounds, and over a steal per game. He's been very impressive so far, and I have to continue to give my kudos to him because MPJ will be the reason why we make a deep run. For sure. He had the archetype of someone that we have been needing on the help side rotations at the rim. That's who we needed on the defensive side of the ball. That's what we've been missing for a lot of the season. And we've been looking at Bruce Brown and KCP for a lot of the year. And AG has had to slot over to take that role, but they aren't just tall enough. We can have all the positioning we want, but when it's someone like Rudy Gobert coming off of a screen and roll, getting downhill into the paint, and he sees Bruce Brown in the paint, that's not really going to do much. But when you see someone, MPJ, who's 6'10", you have a lot more verticality and you have a lot more of a chance to contest that shot. And that's what we have been seeing from him later in the season, and especially in this playoff series so far. He has been so aggressive defensively. He's making the right rotations. He's playing a little bit faster defensively too. I think it's all clicking for him just a little bit more. And that part right there, I think, is one of the more exciting aspects of his development. IQ is growing. You can see in how he's making reads, how he's reading the defense on his own scoring opportunities, how he's reading an opposing offense when it's time to make a pre-rotation, when it's time to get to the rim and contest a dunker. How do you do that without fouling? And even if you are going to foul, make it a hard foul so they don't have an easy bucket. You're not just doing soft slap downs for and one opportunities. He's learning all of that, and it's amazing. In this next section, I'd want to talk about our defensive schemes because it is something that was probably the biggest talking point when it came to talking about the Nuggets playoff contention, was looking at their defense. What are the weak points? There are a lot of weak points. Who can you attack? Who you cannot attack? A lot of things like that. I touched on the Aaron Gordon at the 5 lineup rotations that we've been running for a decent chunk of the last part of the season. AG with the second unit, I think, has been working so well. Any of those lineups work because I think AG has taken on, and I think he's recognized his different role in the playoffs. We need defensive intensity. We don't need Aaron Gordon going out and scoring 17, 18 points a night anymore. We needed that in the regular season when MPJ and Jamal were dealing with injury management and coming back to full form. But when those guys are back, when you have 3 elite offensive weapons, it's on people like AG, it's on people like KCP to recognize that their role has to shift just a little bit more toward the defensive side of the ball when it comes to the playoffs. AG is no stranger to that. These lineups that we run with the second unit and him at the 5, there's a lot more switchability. And when you look at the actual on-court production of that, there are a lot of different plays that kind of showcase what the second unit is capable of defensively and how they are able to keep us in games. How do they manage to win their minutes? They do it on the defensive side of the ball. If you're lacking playmakers, if you're lacking half-court creators in these second units, you create your buckets in transition. You create easy offense from elite defense, and that's what this second unit has been doing. How the Nuggets have been trying to close off the paint in order to protect the paint and protect Nikola Jokic behind them, it's been a big talking point. Obviously, can Jokic be the one that teams attack in order to beat the Nuggets? And the Timberwolves have not shied away from involving Jokic in actions. It was expected. Everyone in the basketball world knew it was going to happen. So did the Nuggets. So did his teammates. And now they understand Like I mentioned, AG in his little shifted role, he has to be the main help side defender for Jokic. He has to be the main weak side defender for Jokic. He has to cover Jokic's back, and Jokic will provide on the other end. And it's the same with MPJ, except his role is a little different because he is also an offensive weapon, but the same rules apply to him defensively. And the Timberwolves just haven't been able to figure out how to win off of putting Jokic in the pick and roll because the rest of our players have stepped up tremendously. I have a lot of high hopes for this playoff run so far. If we continue to play the style of basketball, the style of defense that we've been playing through these first 3 games for the rest of the postseason, I like our odds at a finals run. We are answering a lot of questions so far. Now, whether you take into account the strength of the opponent or not is totally different. The fact of the matter is a lot of the questions that people had about us as a 1 seed specifically are being quelled. Is there another gear for the Nuggets defensively? Obviously. If you've been watching the games with intent and you've been watching them unbiasedly, you can no longer admit that the Nuggets do not have a second gear defensively and an upper tier level of defense that they can reach, because it's very obvious at this point. We knew the offense was going to be there. The other side of the ball was the question. And so far, through 3 games, I've been very, very impressed. So that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much. It was a bit of a longer video, but again, with these longer breaks, I don't want to come back with like a 5-6 minute video. I feel like that'd be super unfair for you guys. So long breakdown. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be back with another video. Don't know when or what. Just be on the lookout. I'll talk to you later.